Elizabeth I was crowned Queen of England. She was the last of the great Tudor dynasty.
She was cunning, she was vain, she was kind, she was very smart, and she was very manipulative.
After detailed detective work, experts now believe this is the only surviving piece of clothing worn by Elizabeth I.
Inside a high-tech lab, strands of genetic code flicker across a screen. DNA belonging to one of the most formidable rulers in human history. For centuries, her death at 69 has remained a cold case tangled in rumors, poison, heartbreak, and even a corpse that ruptured in its coffin. But this new forensic blueprint is finally revealing what no Tudor courtier ever dared to say. It exposes the brutal reality of what was happening inside her body and the unimaginable suffering she hid beneath the crown. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel to stay updated with our latest content. The Whitewashed Queen. This is where her legendary mask of youth was born. Contrary to the myths, it wasn't vanity, it was strategy. Elizabeth, lacking the brute force or battlefield presence of male monarchs, crafted an image of divine, ageless purity. Her weapon of choice? Venetian ceruse, a deadly mixture of white lead and vinegar. She coated her face, neck, and hands in it, building a ghostly mask that could be nearly an inch thick. In the 16th century, pale skin was the ultimate status symbol, proof that one belonged to the elite. But for Elizabeth, the whiteness did something far more important. It erased age, it erased fatigue, it erased vulnerability. In public, she appeared untouched by time, a supernatural queen above the decay of ordinary life. But everything changed in 1562. After surviving a near-fatal bout of smallpox, Elizabeth was left with permanent facial scarring. From that moment on, the layers of ceruse thickened. The illusion became essential. Courtiers whispered that in her later years she looked like a living statue. What they didn't understand was that this white mask was slowly killing her. The lead seeped into her blood daily, turning her greatest tool of statecraft into a poison. Portraits became her propaganda. In a world without photography, images controlled power. Elizabeth allowed only idealized versions of herself to be seen. In 1596, she issued a royal decree commanding that all unseemly portraits be destroyed. Artists were required to use approved templates that showed the queen forever youthful. The Darnley portrait of 1575 set the pattern, replicated endlessly even when she was in her 60s. She created an immortal queen, but beneath the painted perfection, her body was collapsing. The slow fall. As Elizabeth approached 70, the myths she had lived behind for decades began to crumble. Publicly, she remained Gloriana, the virgin queen who crushed the Spanish Armada and forged a new era. But privately, she was fading. The woman who once commanded rooms with razor-sharp wit and regal fire grew frail, withdrawn, and unbearably lonely. Her lifelong pillars were gone. Her trusted chief minister, William Cecil, dead. Her spymaster, Francis Walsingham, gone. Even the ladies who had served her since girlhood were disappearing. Her world had emptied. And then came the agony of Robert Devereux, Earl of Essex, the brilliant, reckless favorite she adored like a son. When he attempted a rebellion, she was forced to sign his death warrant. It broke her. Her cousin, Sir Robert Carey, wrote that she spent her final year sitting in darkened rooms weeping. She even muttered regrets about ordering the execution of Mary, Queen of Scots, decades earlier. Her grief triggered a devastating physical decline. Her famous sweet tooth had destroyed her teeth. Blackened stumps and infected abscesses made eating torment. Her once golden hair fell out, leaving her dependent on wigs. And the ceruse, that silent killer, was now ravaging her skin and organs. Gray complexion, sores, trembling, exhaustion, mood swings, classic signs of chronic lead poisoning. Her behavior became disturbing. She fell into long silences, refused medical help, wouldn't let her attendants dress or bathe her. She stopped sleeping in a bed altogether, terrified that if she lay down, she would never rise again. She spent up to 15 hours a day sitting motionless on cushions. The mask of youth was shattered. Now the world would see the woman buried beneath it.
A kingdom holds its breath. In the cold, wet days of March 1603, Richmond Palace was silent with dread. Elizabeth I, the axis of England for 45 years, was slipping away. Yet she refused to name a successor, refused to admit defeat. Her silence held an entire nation hostage. On March 24, 1603, shortly after 2 a.m., the end came quietly. No stirring final words, no royal command, only silence. At her orders, no autopsy was performed. Her body and all its secrets went with her to the grave. But the rumors did not die. Elizabeth Southwell, a lady-in-waiting, later claimed that weeks after burial, the Queen's corpse swelled and exploded inside her lead-lined coffin, releasing a poisonous vapor into the abbey. Long dismissed as Catholic propaganda, the story suddenly gained weight when modern science confirmed the existence of exploding coffin syndrome, a real phenomenon caused by gas buildup during decomposition. More clues hinted at severe illness. Her coronation ring had to be cut off her swollen finger. Her body was failing rapidly, likely due to infection, organ failure, and poisoning. But without an autopsy, nobody could be sure. Did she die of lead poisoning, sepsis, a broken heart, or something more sinister? The Queen took that answer with her. Cracking the code of a queen. For 4 centuries, her final mystery lay sealed in Westminster Abbey. But in a groundbreaking investigation, Sky History's Royal Autopsy attempted what once seemed impossible, a modern forensic reconstruction of Elizabeth's death. Led by Home Office pathologist Dr. Brett Lockyer and biological anthropologist Professor Alice Roberts, the team analyzed every piece of evidence, portraits, letters, symptoms, and even the chemical composition of her cosmetics. Their findings were shocking. Her dental reconstruction showed massive abscesses, the kind that can cause deadly bloodstream infections. Her cosmetics tested positive for extreme levels of lead carbonate, enough to cause tremors, hair loss, depression, hallucinations, and organ failure. Her image, the very mask that built her legend, was killing her. But the experts also uncovered deeper possibilities: autoimmune disease, thyroid collapse, mercury poisoning from skin lightening tinctures, or a combination of them all. In her final weeks, swollen limbs, delirium, fear of sleep, and extreme exhaustion painted a portrait of a woman trapped inside a dying body and a collapsing mind. And still she hid it, because she had to. Her strength was her mask. Her mask became her prison. The legend of Elizabeth I will endure forever. But now we finally understand the human cost of becoming a myth. What do you think? What shocked you the most? Does the truth change your view of the Virgin Queen? And was her greatest strength also her greatest downfall?
Implications of this discovery. The scientific analysis of Queen Elizabeth I's DNA, something unimaginable even a decade ago, has opened a door into one of history's most enigmatic figures. For nearly 400 years, her death was obscured by rumor, contradiction, and the deliberate silence she herself demanded. But now, with modern genetics and forensic reconstruction, the implications of what scientists uncovered extend far beyond the final days of a dying queen. This discovery forces us to rethink the politics, culture, and mythology of the Tudor age, and it challenges our understanding of leadership, image, and the cost of power. First and foremost, the findings dismantle one of the most enduring illusions in English history, the flawless, immortal Virgin Queen. Elizabeth built her authority on a carefully curated image.
her white mask of Venetian ceruse, her strict portrait control, her refusal to show weakness. All of these were deliberate tools of statecraft. For centuries, historians assumed this was simply vanity or artistic style. DNA evidence now shows the physical consequences of that mask: severe lead exposure, organ deterioration, and signs of chronic poisoning. The implication is profound. Elizabeth didn't merely wear makeup, she weaponized it. Her public face was a political fortress, and tragically, it was also the instrument that killed her. This revelation shifts how we interpret power in the 16th century. Elizabeth reigned in a world that believed female rulers were inherently weak, emotional, or unfit to lead. By maintaining a supernatural image of purity and agelessness, she rewrote the rules of monarchy. But the genetic evidence of her physical decline highlights the hidden sacrifices she made to maintain that myth. Her reign now appears not only as a triumph of governance, but as a constant, exhausting performance, one paid for with her own health. Leadership, in her world, was literally toxic. Another implication lies in the understanding of Tudor medicine and court politics. The DNA findings confirm symptoms consistent with lead poisoning, dental sepsis, swelling, and a weakened immune system. In Elizabeth's time, physicians knew nothing of heavy metals or bacterial infections, but the implications go deeper. Her courtiers, attendants, and advisors witnessed these symptoms. They saw her tremors, her fatigue, her silences, her strange refusal to lie down in her last weeks. Now that modern science explains what they were witnessing, it reframes the political climate of her final years. A queen suffering from chronic poisoning was vulnerable, not just physically, but politically. This raises new questions about the decisions made in her declining years, the people who had access to her, and the real condition of England's leadership behind closed doors.
The findings also impact our understanding of succession and the transition to the Stuart dynasty. Elizabeth's refusal to name an heir has baffled historians for centuries. Some believed it was political strategy. Others thought it was pride. But if she was cognitively impaired by poisoning, chronic pain, or infection, her stubborn silence may have been less about control and more about a deteriorating mental state. This changes the narrative of her final political acts. Instead of deliberate ambiguity, her decisions, or lack thereof, may represent a monarch overwhelmed by physical suffering, unable to confront the reality of her own mortality. The calm transfer of power to James I, often portrayed as a diplomatic miracle, now appears as something far more fragile, a peaceful outcome that easily could have erupted into civil conflict had her condition been worse or her court less stable. Perhaps the most shocking implication is what this discovery tells us about the psychological burden Elizabeth carried. The DNA results confirm biological stress markers consistent with long-term anxiety, malnutrition, and chronic illness. These findings support historical accounts describing her insomnia, her compulsive work habits, and her emotional breakdowns after the deaths of people she loved, such as Robert Devereux, the Earl of Essex. The combination of physical poisoning and emotional trauma paints a picture of a queen who ruled not from invincibility, but from pain. This challenges the cultural myth of Gloriana as an untouchable icon. Instead, we see a human being, brilliant, disciplined, and deeply wounded, pushing herself far beyond the limits of her body. There are also broader implications for historical science itself. For centuries, historians relied on letters, portraits, and eyewitness accounts to piece together Elizabeth's life and death. Genetic analysis has now added a new layer of truth, revealing what even her courtiers could not see. It demonstrates the power of modern technology to rewrite historical narratives. If Elizabeth's body holds such secrets, what about other monarchs, saints, and cultural icons whose remains survive? This discovery sets a precedent, opening the door to more genomic investigations that could overturn long-accepted stories. Culturally, this revelation reframes the Tudor era itself. Elizabeth's appearance, Her pale skin, bright red lips, elaborate wigs, romanticized for centuries. But now we know it was a desperate disguise, created to hide illness, scars, and the creeping effects of poison. The imagery of the Virgin Queen becomes far darker. Her beauty ritual wasn't glamorous, it was lethal. Artists, playwrights, and filmmakers will now reinterpret her legacy with this new knowledge in mind. The Tudor Golden Age may appear less glittering and more haunted by quiet suffering. Finally, the discovery forces us to reconsider the nature of historical myth-making. Elizabeth's public persona was so powerful that it survived unchanged for 4 centuries. Yet beneath that myth was a woman losing her teeth, her hair, her vitality and strength, all while holding a kingdom together. Her DNA shows that she wasn't ageless at all. She was mortal, vulnerable, and paying an unimaginable price for her crown. In the end, the implications of this discovery are both shocking and deeply human. It reveals the truth hidden beneath the white paint and velvet gowns. A queen who built a legend at the cost of her own body. And now, for the first time in history, science has given us the chance to see her not only as a symbol, but as a woman.